Hi, welcome back to the channel everyone. We are currently working on the function section, and this video is the third episode of my calculus problem solutions series. In this series, I am solving problems by following the exact order and structure of Thomas Calculus 14th edition. I have already completed most of this work on my Turkish channel, aiming to solve problems similar to all exercises in the book. Alright, let's get started. Today we begin with the vertical line test. For the definition of the vertical line test, the vertical line test is a graphical method used to determine whether a curve represents a function. Whether a curve represents a function. A graph is a function if and only if no vertical line intersects the graph at more than one point. Why do we use the vertical line test? We apply the vertical line test because a function can assign only one output to each input. As you see here, we have an input value x. This value should go only to one output value. If it goes to two different or more than two outputs, then this cannot be a function. So we use vertical line test to find whether a point in an input goes to one or more than to the goes to one or more outputs. Or if when we use vertical line test, if it touches the graph once, that x value has a single y value, so it passes the test. Here, if you use vertical line test and you draw vertical lines, every vertical line passes the test because they touch only once to the graph. So this graph is a function. If when using vertical line test, if the lines touches the graph multiple times, that x value will have more than one output, so the graph is not a function. You see here, if you draw a line from here, this touches the graph 3 times. This means that this graph is not a function graph. And first problem. A question: which of the following graphs are graphs of the functions of x? In order to solve such problems, we use again vertical line test. If you draw lines like this, every line in the first graph, every line passes the graph and touches just one time. So this graph is a function. This is a function. Also, look at this one, and if you draw lines like that, every line passes the graph and touches it just one time. So this is also a function graph. But if you draw lines from here, you see here the line touches the graph 2 times, and for this line touches the graph 3 times. Since a vertical line crosses the graph at more than one point, it fails the vertical line test and cannot be considered a function. For this one, this fails to be a function, and also this fails to be a function. And the second question: consider the equation x squared plus y squared equals 1. Sketch the graph of this equation and use the vertical line test to determine whether the graph represents a function. You should know what this graph is. This is the unit circle, actually. This equation, we will draw unit circle here. And This is plus 1, minus 1, plus 1, minus 1. If you use vertical line test here, draw this line, and we see that it touches the graph 2 times. Since a vertical line crosses the graph at more than one point, it fails the vertical line test and cannot be considered as a function. For the other problem, consider the function y equals square root of 4 minus x square. Sketch the graph of this equation and use the vertical line test to determine whether the graph represents a function. The graph of y equals 4 minus square root of 4 minus x square is the upper half of a circle with radius 2 and centered at the origin. Let's draw this as here. We will draw a circle here, and this circle, we will draw a semicircle, and this semicircle has radius 2, and this is also 2. This semicircle starts at minus 2, 0, rises to the highest point at 0, 2, and then goes back down to the point 2, 0. No part of the semicircle is included in the graph. And if you use vertical line test, yes, this is a function graph because every line just touches at one point. And the last problem. Graph the equation x equals y squared and explain why it is not a function. Let's graph it. Graph of this function should be like that. X equals y squared. This is the graph of x equals y squared. X equals y squared. If you use vertical line test here, draw it, and you see that this vertical line touches 2 times to the graph. So this is not, or again, this is not a function, fails to be a function. And this was the last problem for this lecture. See you.